Hi guys, it's Carolyn from True Crime Chat with Mommy Ramblings. We have some breaking news here as Chad Daybell is taken into police custody and officers are searching the property. Let's take a look at that. If you're brand new to the community, I invite you to please subscribe by clicking the subscribe button in the lower corner of the video, and you can become part of the greatest community on YouTube. We do a lot more than just true crime here. It's your full lifestyle channel, and I hope that you'll become part of it. Let's take a look at what's going on now, because this is some really rocking news. Chad Daybell has been taken into custody. Multiple witnesses told the East Idaho News that they saw several officers pull him over about 1 mile south of the Daybell home on the 4000 block of 1900 East around 11:30 a.m. today. He was wearing a baseball cap, a gray button-up shirt, and blue jeans. Witnesses say he got out of his silver SUV. He was placed in handcuffs and put into a police car. Daybell's vehicle is currently parked on the road, surrounded by deputies, but he is not on the scene. Police have not released any information about the apparent arrest. Prior to Chad being taken into custody at around 7 a.m. this morning, the Fremont County Sheriff's deputies, the Rexburg police officers, and the FBI arrived at Chad Daybell's Fremont County home, 200 block of 1900 East, and they had a warrant for the Rexburg Police Department, but it was sealed, so it's unknown what information the officers were trying to find. Numerous roads around the home were closed, and drivers were being rerouted. The media was being asked to remain in a staging area. And FBI spokeswoman Sandra Barker confirmed that the agency's evidence response team was assisting Madison County with the execution of a search warrant there. Now, this is the second major search that's been performed at the Daybell home. Law enforcement removed 43 items from the house during a multi-agency raid on January 3rd. Officers also searched a shed and used metal detectors, probes, and rakes to go over several portions of the yard. The search is believed to be connected to the disappearance of Lori's children, Joshua J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan, who were last seen in Idaho in September, but were not reported missing until November. Then you'll remember that Lori married Chad, that doomsday author, alleged cult leader, and former gravedigger, just less than 2 months after the kids vanished, and about 2 weeks after Chad's wife, Tammy, died. Now, what's seen as not natural causes, and her autopsy results are pending. The couple refused to say where the children were, but they insisted that they were safe. While some relatives believe that Lori would never hurt her kids, others fear that the children could be dead. So prior to Chad being taken into custody, the East Idaho News said that FBI spokeswoman Sandra Barker confirmed that the agency's evidence response team was assisting local authorities with the execution of that search warrant. And police told the East Idaho News that they plan to be on scene for hours. And this is the second major raid performed at the Daybell home since police began searching for the children in late November. During a previous raid on January 3rd, they removed 43 items from the home and combed over several sections of the yard with metal detectors and rakes. Lori has spent the past 4 months behind bars on charges of abandonment in connection with the children's disappearance. Last known sighting of 17-year-old Tylee was on September 8th when she visited Yellowstone National Park with her family, and JJ, who would have turned 8 last month, was last seen 2 weeks later on September 23rd. Lori and Chad are also being investigated for conspiracy, attempted murder, and murder in the death of Chad's first wife, Tammy Daybell, who mysteriously died at the Salem home in October. Last month, Lori's former best friend, Melanie Gibb, you might remember she went to the police department with Lori, made the dire prediction that the children are dead during an exclusive interview with the East Idaho News. "They're not on this planet anymore," Gibb said. I don't think they are. That's my personal opinion. She then went on to reveal her suspicions that Alex Cox, Lori's brother, may have done something to the children for Lori or for a higher reason related to the family's extreme religious belief that the end of the world was approaching. If he really truly believed these things, maybe he felt he was doing something good for not only them, but God, she said. Gibb, who has known the Vallow family for years, offered a brief explanation for why she doesn't think it's possible that the children are alive. Tylee is a very strong-willed individual, and she's capable of making a phone call if she needs to call. And she hasn't reached out to anybody and let anybody know she's alive, she said. I can't imagine she would be quiet the whole time. Addressing the possibility that Tylee is hiding out with JJ, Melanie Gibb said that it would be difficult for the teen to take care of the boy alone because he's autistic. She said, JJ's a handful. He wouldn't have his medication with him, so how could she take care of him? It doesn't add up. She also questioned the fact that Lori and her new husband, Chad Daybell, fled Idaho for Hawaii soon after the police discovered the children are missing. If they're in a safe place, why is Lori in Hawaii having a great time on her honeymoon when her children are hiding for safety, she asked. That doesn't even make sense. I think most people understand that. Melanie Gibb also described how Lori and Chad allegedly asked her to lie to police and say she was with JJ when the kids were first reported missing. She refused to comply with their request and has been cooperating with investigators from the start, she said. Melanie went into great detail about Chad and Lori's extreme religious beliefs, which centered around the idea that the end of the world is coming this summer. She recounted how Lori had told her that she believed JJ was a zombie just days before the boy disappeared, and how Chad had convinced her that the kids were dark spirits. Several relatives of Lori, including her mother, Janice Cox, sister Summer Shiflett, and niece Melanie Pozlowski, have defended her in recent weeks. Last month, Lori's former best friend, Melanie Gibb, you might remember she went to the police department with Lori, made the dire prediction that the children are dead during an exclusive interview with the East Idaho News. They're not on this planet anymore, Gibb said. I don't think they are. That's my personal opinion. She then went on to reveal her suspicions that Alex Cox, Lori's brother, may have done something to the children for Lori or for a higher reason related to the family's extreme religious belief that the end of the world was approaching. If he really truly believed these things, maybe he felt he was doing something good for not only them, but God, she said. Gibb, who has known the Vallow family for years, offered a brief explanation for why she doesn't think it's possible that the children are alive. Tylee is a very strong-willed individual, and she's capable of making a phone call if she needs to call. And she hasn't reached out to anybody and let anybody know she's alive, she said. I can't imagine she would be quiet the whole time. Janice Cox and Shiflett broke their silence for the first time in an interview that was aired on CBS News on May 16th. The woman failed to explain why Lori has so far refused to cooperate with investigators trying to find out what happened to her children. When asked about the matter, they replied in unison, "Well, that's a great question," laughing towards one another as they spoke. However, they insisted that Lori would never hurt either of her kids. "She's invested her whole life in those children," Janice Cox said, "so we know there's another whole side to this. We don't know what it is, but we know her." When asked why, as a loving grandmother and loving aunt, they hadn't approached Lori to reveal to them where the children are, Shiflett replied, "She can't tell us. She's in jail. She's not, everything's recorded, so she's not going to tell us. She can't discuss anything about the case." Janice Cox added, "I'm positive, beyond any doubt, that they haven't harmed those kids." Reporter Jonathan Vigliotti pressed by asking, "Do you think they're in a bunker somewhere?" "I think that's possible," Lori's mother said, but she didn't elaborate on where she believed the children were. Autopsy results for Tammy Daybell are still being finalized. A woman who knew and worked with Tammy and Chad Daybell years ago revealed some new information about their past. Suzanne Freeman was one of the first authors to have her work published by Spring Creek Book Company, which the Daybells launched in 2004. The first book, Led by the Hand of Christ, focused on Freeman's near-death experience, and over the next 8 years she partnered with Chad on 2 more projects. He was interesting. He was very humble. When we were writing the first book, he called me up one day and said, "Do you think maybe, possibly it would be okay? Do you think maybe we could put a subtitle on that book?" Freeman recalls explaining Chad's hesitancy to make the request. "I thought that was interesting. Why didn't he just come out with it? I didn't care what he did as long as he didn't change my story." Chad wrote about meeting Freeman on his website in August 2015 after discussing that a humble housewife from a small Utah town had actually died, met the Savior, and returned. He wanted assurance that Freeman's experience was authentic. "Before I'd even consider publishing her story, I wanted to make sure her account stayed consistent with itself," he wrote. "I believe asking her many questions to see if she would slip up or change her story, but throughout the interrogation, she looked me in the eyes and was straightforward with her answers. After about 30 minutes, I felt satisfied and said, 'I believe you. I feel we should publish your experience.' The book was released and Freeman began speaking about her story at different events. Years later, she learned Chad claimed to have 2 near-death experiences, and she found it odd that he had never said anything to her about them. He never mentioned he had a near-death experience. We had a lot of conversations, and I would think that might come up," Freeman says. "Having a near-death experience myself, people come to me and tell me their stories, but he never once told me a story. He only said he had some sacred experiences of his own, and I respected that. Usually in my experience, if you have a near-death experience, people want to share it because they can't share it just to anybody, and I would totally be understanding." Over the years, Freeman remembers Chad's religious views aligning with the mainstream teachings of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But in 2014, after releasing her 3rd book, The Spirit of Liberty, Chad suggested they combine all 3 of her publications and remove LDS references to make the story more mainstream. He also began working on projects that concerned Freeman. He started publishing non-Mormon doctrine stories, people's different experiences and stuff, and I just told him there's something that's not quite right, Freeman said. Plus, we were working on a book of mine together to take out of the LDS stuff, and I was kind of surprised by that because he was an LDS author. Chad came to Freeman and said he would be closing his business because the call-out was coming. The idea, which is not Latter-day Saint doctrine, is that the president of the church will one day call on members who are prepared to gather. The prophet one day, before any tribulations, will be called out to go to the LDS church-owned girls' camps, Freeman says. Only those that have their food storage and a temple recommend will go. He felt that this was going to happen. I think it was July, so he was going to stop publishing books. Freeman says Chad believed the righteous would live together until earthquakes and calamities happened ahead of the second coming of Jesus Christ. She had heard this idea in online chat rooms and forums, but it didn't make sense to her. "It seems to me that if you want to be safe, you wouldn't go where the government knows where the church has camps," Freeman said. "I thought, I'm not going where the government knows that. I just never felt that was for me." Chad and Freeman went their separate ways, but she says he promised to give her books rights back, which when he didn't, she sought legal advice to discuss her options. "I went to an attorney, and he read through the contract. He said, 'I have never seen a publisher's contract this one-sided. This has nothing good for you in it.' Freeman said, 'I just thought that was not honest. I thought, give me my rights back. That's what I want. I don't want my name attached to what he's publishing. I'm not believing in that, and I want to be left alone.' Despite their falling out, Freeman says she still respected Chad and had a great admiration for Tammy. She describes their relationship as a true love story and never sensed any problems between the couple. Tammy, she was a sweetheart. I think she was the heart of the business. She just really was good at it and really kind and really genuine, Freeman said. He would tell me she was a soulmate and he knew her in the pre-existence, and when he met her, they knew each other. I was impressed by that. I thought, wow, they have a really sweet relationship and that's really tender. I was impressed by him, how humble he was and how he felt about his wife. That's not very common. I really was honored to be Chad's friend early on because I love to see good men. There's good men out there and I like associating with good people. Years went by and Freeman lost touch with the Daybells, and then in October of 2019, she was shocked to see a Facebook post written by Chad announcing Tammy had died suddenly. I am saddened to share that my beautiful, talented wife Tammy passed away early this morning in her sleep, the post said. It is a shock to all of us. She was so wonderful in every way. We are still working out the details, but we plan to hold a viewing Monday evening in Springville, Utah, and then hold the funeral and burial there on Tuesday. We will hold a memorial service in Rexburg on Wednesday at 11 a.m. at the Henry's Fork Stake Center. We are overwhelmed with the outpouring of love and support. Thank you so much. Freeman said the post felt cold and she assumed Tammy had been battling a long-term illness. A few weeks later, Freeman heard Chad had gone to Hawaii, met a widow, and gotten married. She thought it was an untrue rumor. I thought Chad really loved his wife. Why would he marry that soon? This doesn't make any sense. She's not even cold in the grave. Why would he get remarried that fast? Knowing the love story, I thought I knew. That didn't seem like the Chad I knew. I thought it was plain old gossip. When Freeman confirmed the rumor was true and Chad had indeed married Lori Vallow, she was stunned. Why would a man want to marry a woman that didn't know where her children were? There's only one reason, but we're not going to go there, Freeman said. I just couldn't believe it. As Freeman has learned more about the investigation into Lori Daybell's missing children, Joshua J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan, she's become increasingly worried. She's also disturbed by hearing Chad and Lori's religious teachings, including the belief that the kids may have become zombies. I am so ashamed. I think that's the word. I'm ashamed, embarrassed, disgusted, she says. I can't wrap my head around the fact that he could be the person that they're claiming him to be, but I believe it. There's no lying. He's saying people are zombies, but I think he turned into a zombie. If people turn into zombies, Chad turned into a zombie personally. Freeman knows some may be uncomfortable with what she is saying, and she asks those with hateful messages to keep them to themselves. She also believes Chad's teaching about multiple probations are dangerous and conflict with the doctrines of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. My belief is this: Christ died for us, he died for our sins. Multiple mortalities or probation denies what Christ did for us. Why would a loving God and Jesus Christ want us to come back and live our lives over and over? My life has been hard, and I wouldn't want to do this again. I love Jesus with all my heart, and I just feel it's denying the Savior, Freeman says. Chad's attorney, Mark Means, had no comment on Freeman's statements, and she says she holds no ill will towards her former publisher. She now shares her books for free on her website and has a message for Chad. Chad, we get deceived. We all get deceived, but please do the right thing. Just know there are people who love you, Freeman said. Do the right thing. You know it, right? Jesus will still love you. Just know that. Quick recap on the timeline of this case as we have Todd in custody, and we will keep updating on that. July 11th of 2019, almost a year ago, Lori Vallow's husband Charles Vallow was killed by her brother Alex Cox in Arizona. In August, Lori moved her children, JJ and Tylee, to Rexburg, Idaho. On September 8th, that was the last time Tylee was seen during a family trip to Yellowstone National Park. September 23rd, the last time JJ was seen at his school in Idaho. October 19th, Chad Daybell's wife Tammy died in their Idaho home. October 25th, a friend of Tylee receives a text from her phone. November 5th, Lori and Chad marry. November 26th, out-of-state relatives ask Idaho police to perform a welfare check on JJ, Lori, and Chad. They claim he is in Arizona with relatives. Police also learned Tylee has not been seen since September either. November 27th, police execute a search warrant at Chad and Lori's home, discovering the couple has fled to Idaho. December 11th, Tammy Daybell's body was exhumed from the Utah cemetery. December 12th, Lori's brother Alex Cox, believed to have died in Arizona. December 21st, police issue a press release about JJ and Tylee, revealing they believe their disappearance is linked to Tammy's death. December 24th, Lori and Chad issued a statement through an attorney saying they love their son and daughter and look forward to addressing allegations once they have moved beyond speculation and rumor. December 30th, police accuse Lori and Chad of lying to investigators and say they believe the couple know where the kids are or what happened to them. On January 3rd, police searched Chad's home in Salem. January 26th of 2020, Lori and Chad are seen for the first time in months as police served 2 search warrants in Kauai. January 30th, Lori misses her court deadline to produce the children to authorities. On February 20th, 2020, Lori was arrested in Kauai. March 5th, Lori was extradited to Idaho, and on June 9th, today, police search Chad's home in Salem for the second time, and they also take him into custody. As I said, we'll give you updates as they come in, but this is some big news finally in this case with Chad being taken into custody, and I guess we just want justice for these kids. We'd love them to be found alive. It's not looking like that, and now there needs to be justice here. So thanks for watching, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.